Good morning, Shrewsbury, and welcome to the annual, again, coverage of the Memorial Day Parade services, coming to you live from Shrewsbury Media Connection and Town Center. And we are so glad to be back with you live. As we all know, the world has certainly given us a lot to handle and to deal with and to cope with. And we had 2 years in which we were virtually here celebrating Memorial Day services. Our last live production was in 2019. And the world has not only given us COVID to cope with, but many both national and international problems, challenges, heartbreaks to deal with as well. So here, from our vantage point, here in front of our wonderful town library, we can start to see the police and fire vehicles that are making their way to the center. And people have started to gather as I was coming here to join the services up here. I came from Town Hall and I saw many people lined up on the road coming to the town center, and a nice gathering here as well. There always is every year, and everybody is coming out to appreciate and show respect for our veterans and our fallen service members. It's a beautiful day today. After a kind of rocky start to this long weekend with a lot of rain and thunderstorms, we were wondering, would it be a nice day today? Would we be able to have our Memorial Day services? And it's just turned out to be a truly perfect day for a parade. And as you can see, we have the police car coming through, followed by another emergency vehicle. We like to see them at parades, hate to see them having to be employed, grateful for them, and the kids always love seeing these cars come through. And you can just start to hear the strains of the Shrewsbury High School marching band. They always do such a terrific job. There go the sirens again as the parade starts. And we have a flag being waved out of that police vehicle to the crowd. Always appreciative. The high school music band director, Justin Blair, sounds like he has done a pretty terrific job from the strains I'm hearing so far coming through. There's a lucky little girl, or a couple of little girls that are getting a ride in that police car, waving to some friends I see. And here's a round of applause for the color guard coming through. The fire department. And in the fire chief car is our fire chief, James Wona, following behind the color guard. And it looks like the fire chief is carrying behind him in that vehicle some form of emergency transport that would go on Lake Quinsigamond or on some body of water. It's a sharp-looking little craft. We have a mascot riding on the fire truck. It's Sparky, our Shrewsbury mascot. The kids are getting a great kick out of it, and frankly, so am I. Oh, that does sound sharp, guys. Here comes the high school marching band. And we have our select board. Maurice Apollo is our chair. I believe we're going to hear some comments from him. Beth Cassavant, Teresa Flynn, John Samia, and Michelle Conlon. You can also see Karen Polito marching through. We're happy to have her back home. Hannah Kane as well is coming through, and I believe we are going to hear some comments from her as well. Troops starting to march through. We have Boy Scout troops. We will have many troops marching. Scouting is very, very strong and popular here in Shrewsbury. They do a terrific job with all the different programs for the kids. We saw coming through now a United States Marine Corps Jeep. It's called a Willie. Arthur Dobson is in that Jeep. We have coming through in the 2008 Saab, we have Rob Dundorf. Rob was on a nuclear submarine called the Swordfish, and that he was in both the Korean and Vietnam Wars. Behind that, we have a Ford Centerline. And Custom Line, excuse me, it's a 1955 car with a Navy veteran, Tom Vincula. He was in the Vietnam conflict. It looks like we have another little Army kind of open Jeep that came through behind that Ford.
That's John Masiello.
I'm told that's John Masiello. Thank you, John. And as you can see, the Boy Scout troops coming through, and they are saluting as they go by the dais that has the memorial set up here for the town services. And we have some Cub Scouts coming through. We have some more Boy Scouts. I know we have at least one Eagle Scout in there. I had learned that from Tom Vincula. And of course the crowd is very appreciative. Everyone coming through is getting big rounds of applause. And we don't see this right now, but by that little open air Jeep, Hannah Kane is speaking to another Shrewsbury Media Connection longtime member, Fred Russell, also a veteran. One thing I spoke to Rod Dundorf about was how could he stand being in a submarine. It just unbelievable to me. And he said, well, he said, if you're 100 leagues under the sea, he said, you can't feel if there's any kind of hurricane or tornado. I thought that was a truly terrific spin on a tough situation. And as you can see, and both here, the Shrewsbury Oak Middle School Band is coming through, getting a little bit overwhelmed by that emergency vehicle noise. We're going to hear a selection from the Shrewsbury Oak Middle School Band. Most likely after the remarks. And joining the dais, we have our police chief, Kevin Anderson, and it's possible Sergeant Vitos has joined him. And as you can see, along with the Oak School Band, we also have some Girl Scouts and some Brownies who have joined the parade. And again, scouting, such a terrific organization, all the branches, the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, and all the variants. They do such a tremendous job with all the kids. They learn so much. So many wonderful community service projects that are done through scouting. It's a wonderful tradition that continues. And now everybody is waiting for the remarks to begin. We have a son of one of our Shrewsbury Media Connection longtime producers, Robin Miller. Her son, Edward Tessiero Miller, is a trombone player in the Shrewsbury Oak Marching Band. So you hear some extra wonderful sounds coming out of the brass section. You can thank Edward. And it seems that everybody is just about gathered at the podium, where we will be beginning the program shortly. Remarks being welcomed by John Travers, an adjunct of the Raystone Post. He will be our Master of Ceremonies. We'll be hearing from Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito. Shuling Lin from the Shrewsbury High Speech and Debate Team will be reading us the Gettysburg Address. We will have the 2022 Memorial Address by Tracy Racine, a Gold Star mother. The Gold Star program was formed originally in 1928 for mothers of those lost in World War I.
Welcome to our Memorial Day Parade 2022. I'm Major Retired John Travers, Master of Ceremony, and I want to thank all the participants and all the spectators for joining us today. Please give yourselves a round of applause. Today is a significant day, I think, in two ways. One, after 2 years of being remote, it's a pleasure to be back in person. It's a pleasure to see everyone with us today. But I think the second major thing is, for most of the adults here, we certainly remember where we were on 9/11. Because the attacks on 9/11 started the war on terror. 20 years later, we watched this year as the planes left Afghanistan, the planes left Iraq. But even though the war of terror after 20 years ended, it didn't end for the fact that we left 7,000 of our young men and women on the battlefields in those locations. And this day is all about honoring them, honoring their sacrifice, keeping the memory of who they are alive, and never forgetting what they paid for us, for our way of life, and our freedom. I'd like to acknowledge all those that are with us today. Joining us are elected officials, Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito, State Representative Hannah Kane, from our town selectmen chairman, Maurice DiPaolo, Beth Cassavan, Teresa Flynn, John Samia, Michelle Conlon, Police Chief Kevin Anderson, and our Fire Chief Jimmy Vaughn. It's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito.
Good morning, Shrewsbury, and thank you, Major Travers, and for all that worked hard to prepare a beautiful Memorial Day 2022. I want to thank Chief Boner, Chief Anderson, all of the men and women who serve this community, who get up every day and wear their uniform to protect and to serve. We are so grateful for all of you. I want to thank each one of you here, each one of you that has lined the parade route. I want to thank every troop leader, every Boy Scout, every Girl Scout for being here today. I worried that after 2 years of not being in person, coming together for more than a tradition, it's a responsibility that we have as Americans to honor, to express gratitude and appreciation for what our country is all about, and for those who have served, who serve, and who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you for making the choice to be here. That's our responsibility. And that is the most important way that we can express our appreciation to those who have served. I think this Memorial Day 2022 in particular requires all of us to pause and think what freedom means to each one of us. After 2 years of restrictions in order to preserve the public health and the things that we would just normally go and assume we could do, cut back, you think about those in Ukraine fighting for their freedom against an evil tyrant, unprovoked for no reason, taking over their country. And we can't help but come to this space in our hometown, on our town common, and say how grateful we are to have the honor and ability to live in this great community, this great commonwealth, in this great country. Now, we all know that freedom is not free. Every flag planted in that cemetery represents an individual, a family, a person who served and sacrificed. Today, you're going to hear from a very special woman, Tracy Racine, who on May 5th, 2006, received a call that no mother would ever dream or feel the ability to hear and have to deal with, when her son, Private First Class Brian Moquin, was killed in the line of duty in service to our country in Afghanistan. Brian would have been turning 36 this year. You think of 16 years in your lives and all the things that you have enjoyed, all the milestones achieved, all the blessings of living that Tracy has had to imagine. We come here today to honor Gold Star families, to honor all those who have chosen to serve. And I want to thank this beautiful town of Shrewsbury, my hometown, for always, always decorating, honoring, and so beautifully respecting the veterans and the men and women who serve and who have sacrificed for this great country. God bless you, and God bless America.
During the Civil War, after the Battle of Gettysburg, Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address. He was honoring those who had fallen in Gettysburg, but reminding those who were still fighting the ideals for which that they were fighting for. So today, we will hear from Shrewsbury Speech and Debate Team, Shuling Ling, the Gettysburg Address.
Fourscore-and-7 years ago, our fathers brought upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of it as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hollow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we do here, but they can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take the increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from this earth.
Our 41st president, President Bush, on Memorial Day once said, "Each of the patriots whom we remember on this day was first a beloved son or daughter, a brother or a sister, a spouse, a friend, and a neighbor." Today in Section 60, which is the section at Arlington where those had fought in the war on terror since 9/11, many of those families gather to commemorate the loss that they felt. We are honored today, as Lieutenant Governor Polito said, to have one of those Gold Star family members with us, Tracy Racine.
Good morning. I'd like to take this moment to thank the town of Shrewsbury and my friend Angela Snell for inviting me to be here today to speak. I'm honored to be a part of this very special ceremony, honoring and remembering all who have died during service to our nation. My name is Tracy Racine, and I am the Gold Star mother of Private First Class Brian Mogwin. For those of you who do not know the meaning of Gold Star, we are the immediate family of a fallen service member. Gold Star family is a title that nobody wants to bear. So today, Memorial Day, I'd like to share with you my reason why this day is so important to know the true meaning of and to always remember why we gather on this day. 16 years ago, on May 5th, 2006, my son, Private First Class Brian Mogwin, with the Army's 10th Mountain Division, made the ultimate sacrifice, along with 9 soldiers, while on a secret mission in Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, searching for Taliban and Al-Qaeda militants hiding in the rugged mountains near the Pakistan border. Brian was 19 and my only child. Brian grew up here in Shrewsbury and lived here most of his life. He attended schools here. He played for the Shrewsbury Colonials football team, baseball for Rayco's team. He was a member of Cub Scout Pack 146 and Boy Scout Troop 227. He also attended CCD at St. Anne's Church. After high school, Brian decided that he wanted to do something to make a difference. He decided to join the United States Army. Brian went from being a fun-loving, very active kid who always sought adventure to being a brave young man who was courageous enough to go to a war zone. That was his character. He had many friends and he made new friends wherever he went. He had a contagious personality and a huge heart. He was smart, funny, witty, and always had a smile on his face. He had a way of making others smile with one of his wisecrack jokes or goofy faces. When he wasn't on his skateboard, Brian was very artistic, always drawing, sketching, or creating something. He had a passion for music and loved going to rock concerts and shows. He wrote poetry and song lyrics on a daily basis and kept many journals of them. He was also in an alternative rock band with his high school friends. Brian was also like an old soul who loved the music of Frank Sinatra and Johnny Cash. But most importantly, Brian loved his country, the brotherhood within the Army, and the freedom for which he fought. He was a brave, courageous soldier, and I miss him more than words can say. Brian is buried in Hope Cemetery so that his family and friends can visit with him often. His memorial square is located here in town on the corners of Oak and Maple Street. For his service to our country, Brian was awarded the Bronze Star, the National Defense Service Medal, the Good Conduct Medal, the Driver Badge, the Army Service Ribbon, the Global War on Terror Service Medal, the Afghan Campaign Medal, the Combat Action Badge, and the Massachusetts Medal of Liberty. Many people say Happy Memorial Day this time of year. Sadly, for myself and so many other families, every day is Memorial Day. My hope is that the communities take a moment to reflect about the magnitude of this nationally recognized holiday and to not forget the many sacrifices that have been made by our fallen heroes and their families. Maybe instead of saying Happy Memorial Day, you could say enjoy your weekend, and we will try our best to remember. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy, for reminding us really what this day is truly all about, remembering those young men and women who fought for our freedom and paid the ultimate sacrifice. Now we will hear a musical selection from the middle school band. You forget after being virtual for 2 years how great it is to really hear live music again. Next, we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Troop 7114, Vanessa Slominski and Meg Marley. Scouts, please make sure you bring your units to attention and present arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, ladies. We will now have a wreath laying by Raystone Post 238, followed by taps. So Scouts, please again, make sure you bring your units to attention and present arms. Thank you. If you give us a few minutes, please, we'll be moving to the cemetery. We just need a few minutes to make sure that we get our veterans back in their vehicles before we actually leave this location. Thank you. Good job.
And that concludes our programming here in Town Center. It was a beautiful program. They really outdid themselves today. The remarks by Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito really emphasizing service and gratitude for that service, and never forgetting, always remembering the people that served, that didn't come home. And she also added in a thanks to the people who are serving in our communities every day, and that we thank them as well. Beautiful memorial address, so heartbreaking, so touching, by Tracy Racine, the Gold Star mother, who lost her son in Afghanistan, and really imploring us all to remember and to set this day aside as a day of remembrance, not a Monday holiday, but to really reflect on what service means and what the ultimate sacrifice truly means. the musical selections by the Oak Middle School and the high school. Very well done. Everything so appreciated by the crowd that was gathered here. And it was another moment that Karen Polito brought out. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate everybody that's watching at home, of course, absolutely. It takes the time out to gather and to watch and to remember, but also for those that were here to appreciate in person. It means so much. And we thank you for joining us for our services again. We will be taking film from the town cemetery services. They will be added to this program. Check out the Shrewsbury Media Connection board for replay times and dates. The entirety of the services will be shown, and also, of course, check out that board for all the other wonderful programming that's going on in your community all day, every day. We appreciate it. We appreciate you, and you have a wonderful rest of your Memorial Day.
Gonna stay in the Jeep?
He's going to stay right in. Angela, he's just going to stay in.
I'll take you guys to the post afterwards. I'm just going to park around the Oh, you do? Okay. You're very welcome. My pleasure. Be prepared.
Thank you. You're the Boy Scouts too, huh?
Yep. Yeah, I'm in the Scout now.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Easy. There you go.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. After the bed, I'll make sure to get a gas. You too. Take care. I'll see you by the hospital after we go.
That's right. Thank you.
Am I clear from your Jeep? Am I clear?
You are, sir, yep.
You good?
You're good.
Following you guys all day. They're like, Selko must know where to go.
Yeah.
Mind you wait, I can back
Oh,
up.
you're all good.
Good? Let me know if you need to back up.
We're the acapella.
You must be Dadine. Eddie.
How you doing? It was you.
Nice to meet you.
How are you, buddy?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
All right, have your attention, please. And I will introduce the high school a cappella choir that will lead us in the national anthem. Scouts, again reminded, please bring your units to attention and present arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Through the perilous fight, we're so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Again, I think after 2 years of not having music, listening to them live was truly amazing. Let's give them another round of applause, please. As was mentioned, as we get into Logan's orders, at the end of, the Civil War, trying to heal our nation and bring our mourning together as one, Logan's Decorations Day memorandum tried to get the North and the South to commemorate both the loss on both sides. So we're honored to have a member of the high school speech and debate team lead us in Logan's address.
The 30th day of May 1868 is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during their late rebellion and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land. In this observance, no form or ceremony is prescribed, but posts and comrades will in their own way arrange such fitting services and testimonials of respect as circumstances may permit. We are organized comrades, as our regulations tell us, for the purpose, among other things, of preserving and strengthening those kind and fraternal feelings which have bound together the soldiers, sailors, and Marines who united to suppress the late rebellion. What can aid more to assure this result than by cherishing tenderly the memory of our heroic dead, who made their breasts a barricade between our country and its foe? Their soldiers' lives were the reveille of freedom to a race in chains, and their death a tattoo of rebellious tyranny in arms. We should guard their graves with sacred vigilance. All that the consecrated wealth and taste of nation can add to their adornment and security is but a fitting tribute to the memory of her slain defenders. Let no wanton foot tread rudely on such hallowed grounds. Let pleasant paths invite the coming and going of reverent visitors and found mourners. Let no vandalism of avarice or neglect, no ravages of time, testify to the present or to the coming generations that we have forgotten as a people the cost of free and undivided republic. If other eyes go dull and other hands slack, and other hearts cold in the solemn trust, ours shall keep it well as the light and warmth of life remain in us. Let us, then, at the time appointed, gather around their sacred remains and garland the passionless mounds above them with choicest flowers of springtime. Let us raise above them the dear old flag they saved from dishonor. Let us, in this solemn presence, renew our pledges to aid and assist those whom they have left among us as sacred charges upon the nation's gratitude, the soldiers and sailors, widow and orphan. It is the purpose of the Commander-in-Chief to inaugurate this observance with the hope it will be kept up from year to year, while a survivor of the war remains to honor the memory of his departed comrades. He earnestly desires the public press to call attention to this order and lend its friendly aid in bringing it to the notice of comrades in all parts of the country in time for simultaneous compliance therewith. Department commanders will use every effort to make this order effective. By command of John A. Logan, Commander-in-Chief.
We will now have a presentation of the wreath at the cemetery by Charles J. Murphy, Veterans of the Foreign War. Scouts reminder there will be presentation, salute, followed by the taps. Monsignor Mike Rose from St. Mary's will now lead us in a benediction.
Let us pray. Lord God, source of life and all its blessings, pour forth your loving grace and mercy upon the earth this day as we celebrate here Memorial Day, as we honor, remember, and pray for all those who have given their lives in sacrifice, serving our country, as we mark the graves of all of our veterans, and as we remember the bonds of love that we have shared with our own family and friends, we come now to this place of rest. We ask that you pour forth your gifts of peace that flow from your love and your kingdom upon all the earth, upon all nations, all peoples, and all cultures. Help us to build up communities, strong, rooted in the promises of this country. And in these, our last days, O Lord, grant a special blessing of peace upon our country. Give us a renewed hope for our future. Strengthen our commitment and dedication to all that we seek to do as local communities, as state governments, and as a country. May we remain united, we pray, O Lord, through the gift of your mercy and love this day. Amen.
I now ask our scouts from our various scout units to come forward for the reading of the veterans' name from our town memorial squares.
Private First Class Brian M. Malkin Jr., Afghanistan.
Staff Sergeant Charles J. Murphy, Vietnam.
Lieutenant William M. O'Donnell, World War II.
Lieutenant Colonel Walter J. Patton, World War II.
Staff Sergeant Victor R. Corona, World War II.
Private First Class Harold J. Salvatore, World War II.
Private James Gruler, World War I.
Private First Class Homer V. Vassar, World War II.
Robert E. Marston, World War I.
Staff Sergeant Edward F. Wysocki, World War II.
Tech Sergeant Joseph D. McGarry, World War II.
Sergeant Melvin Kaiser, World War II.
Private First Class Robert J. McGuire, World War II.
James E. Conlon, World War I.
Private First Class James F. Sheehan, World War II.
Brian E. Stone, World War I.
Captain Isaac Harrington, Revolutionary War.
Captain Winthrop Avery, World War I.
Herbert B. Hapgood, World War I.
Sergeant Carl Furbeck, World War II.
Sergeant Raymond Stone, World War I.
Corporal Alan E. Duke, World War I.
Private First Class Richard D. Flippin, WW2.
Julius T. Benedict, World War II. Sergeant Bernard F. Kremek, World War II. Sergeant Lloyd E. Hill, Korea.
Francis S. McGuire, World War I.
Private First Class Carl A. Johnson, World War II.
Staff Sergeant Walter F. Johnson, World War II. Private Joseph W. Hickey, World War I.
We will now hear a patriotic rendition by the Shrewsbury High School Band. As we conclude this morning's ceremony, there's a lot of thanks that need to go out for the various volunteers to drive their vehicles, to the scouts who placed the flags Sunday morning at 8 o'clock, for the Cub Scouts who placed the veteran markers at all the corners, our elected officials for joining us, our participants, all of our wonderful spectators, our Veterans Council who helped plan today, and obviously, none of this happens without our Park and Recreation team of Angela Snell and Kevin Esposito. Let's give them a round of hands for all that they do for us. But our guest speaker, Tracy, her family, and as we leave today, obviously, the whole purpose of today is lest we forget. The purpose of Memorial Day is that we truly honor the sacrifice, the commitment of those men and women who died for our freedom, for our way of life. And we always forget the families that are left behind and the ache they feel, as she said, 16 years later, still mourning her son. So as we go back upon our day, we have a barbecue, whatever you do for the rest of the day, let's take one moment, please, and just think about some family, someone you know that has paid that ultimate sacrifice and that effect it has had on their family. Again, I thank you for joining us. I remind our veterans and our officials, we have a barbecue back at Ray's Stone Post. Again, thank you so much. Thank you for everyone for coming out today. It was great to have you all in person. And thank you for all the beautiful music we heard today as well. Thank you, everyone.